Appreciate everybody tuning in for this one. It is a busy day for the Phoenix Mercury, a lot of stuff going on, and we got a lot of things to talk about right now. And so, I
Mhm.
mean, I obviously they have the introductory press conference with Alyssa Thomas, but it doesn't feel right to jump into that first. I feel like we have to talk about what happened shortly thereafter. Diana Taurasi announcing her retirement. Not
Mhm.
really a surprise. I mean, she's been in the league since 2004, but it is
Mhm.
still kind of sad to see a legend, of the game to kind of hanging it up like this.
Yeah. You know, I remembered watching I remember attending my first Mercury game back in 2016, and I grew up as a Phoenix Mercury fan, so I remembered getting my first Diana Taurasi jersey with my dad, and I was so happy when the Mercury won. And Taurasi scored 28 points in a win over the Washington Mystics, and that moment kind of intrigued me to like follow women's basketball and especially carry the passion for the game, like for the next few years. And there was one of the moments that got me into pursuing my career in sports journalism was it was when I was 15 back in 2018. I got the flowers from Diana Taurasi. I
Hmm.
told her, "Wow, this is the best day of my life." Taurasi laughed and responded, "Only gonna get better when you get these flowers." So that moment has got me fascinated into pursuing a career in sports journalism and using my storytelling unique techniques in the sports journalism industry and continue to grow the game of women's basketball.
Sure. I don't
There's
think
have
that's a
been
small case, too. I mean, I think she's influenced an entire era of young women at the time, young girls growing up to love the game because of her. I mean, she was an icon in this sport, and I think that really kind of transcended just that one, just her own story. I think you're one of several people that had that same type of experience watching her play and kind of the love that she brought to the game and everything.
I've had like I had like several memories that I've had both as a fan and media member. I remember when I covered my first WNBA game back in August of 2023. It was when Diana Taurasi became the first player in WNBA history to score 10,000 points, and I remembered writing the live story. It was selected as one of the stories of the year for the next, in which I'm a contributing writer. It was such a cool moment getting to experience a WNBA game like this in my first WNBA game, and especially the unveiling of the practice facility last summer, and especially the court. So it has been a pleasure getting to cover her and watch her as both as a fan and media member.
Sure. She's her accolades, I mean, they speak for himself. Three-time national champion in college and then multiple championships in the WNBA, 11-time All-Star. When you look at everything that she was able to accomplish and kind of stack up in that career, is it a debate? I mean, is she not the greatest WNBA player? Is she not the greatest women's basketball player of all time? Or is she at least on the Mount Rushmore? Where do you think she falls kind of historically?
Uh, you know, that's a good question. I think she is the greatest player of all time in WNBA history. I would say she's the greatest of all time, not
Yeah,
only for her trash talking, but for her passion of the game.
yeah, she definitely started that era at UConn that really kind of took things over there for, I don't know, the better part of 15 years. I think Cheryl Miller, there's a few other women basketball players that had their run too that kind of I think got this started too. So I don't think it's out of pocket to say that she's on the Mount Rushmore. I think everything, especially when you look at again kind of the way that she's influenced an era of young girls growing up to the love of the game, and I think you're kind of seeing the fruits of that now with so much young talent coming into the WNBA
Yeah.
that watched her in college, that watched her play professionally, and kind of have a little bit of that flair that she obviously played with and it was so kind of famous for, and um, it definitely grew the game of basketball. I think that's maybe the biggest compliment that you can give anybody in their sport is
Mhm.
that they transcended just their stats and everything that they did on the court, that they reached and they grew the sport and they got a bigger audience. And her impact is going to be felt for a long time. And it'll be strange not going into a WNBA season without her there as kind of one of the faces that she's been for the league since for 20 years, just about, for
Yeah.
it's been a very, very long run. Speaking
Mhm.
of new faces, though, I mean, she departs, and there's some new blood coming into the building here for the Mercury today. You get a chance to. You're at the press conference for Alyssa Thomas.
Mhm.
A good piece, a very nice pickup for them. What was it like at the press conference? And, how do you think she's going to fit into this very kind of new roster, new wave of what Phoenix is doing over there?
You know, it was pretty interesting to listen to how Satu Sabali asked Alyssa Thomas a question about how many triple doubles she'll have, and Thomas said, "You'll tell me." And each of the players shared a laugh, in which it signals a new era. So I'm kind of fascinated to see how it will all turn out, and especially Nick Uren, the Mercury general manager, has envisioned a new big three of Kalia Copper, who won the 2021 WNBA Finals MVP with Chicago, Sabali, who won the 2023 Most Defensive Player of the Year, and Diana Thomas, who was a runner-up for the Most Valuable Player award back in 2023 as well. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how they are going to be a tough team to watch, as what Thomas said. And this is going to be an exciting era for sure.
When you look at kind of their skill sets, it really feels like they complement each other kind of different a little bit than what the Suns did, where you have kind of three scores. This feels a little bit more of a better pairing of talent, and one that hopefully will kind of produce better on the court for them.
Mm-hmm. So it's pretty interesting that the Mercury still doesn't have a point guard yet, although they traded away Natasha Cloud, and they have made several big changes throughout the off season. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they'll navigate through the point guard position, in which Thomas or Copper could hold the responsibility for the point guard duties. It's really important for each WNBA team to have a point guard so they can make sure all the players are in good communication when it comes to formulating a team chemistry.
Well, they kind of need to get on that. It feels like it's not a ton of time to decide to try and make a bunch of moves left, but it's been a very accomplished, it feels like, off season so far for them. I mean, They had to press a little bit of a reboot, and like all these moves feel like this is a fresh start in the building. I got to imagine from the fans' perspective, from just kind of inside the building, there's a new sense of kind of expectations. How far do you think this team can go this year? Is there a chance that you think they can compete? They can make some noise? Where do you expect kind of them to fall once the season gets going?
I could see them as a top 4 to 5 finish for the Phoenix Mercury, depending on like how they'll play faster, as what Nick Tibbetts has been emphasizing for like throughout the last year, and especially he is heading into the second season as head coach for the Phoenix Mercury. So I could not only I could see them as a top 5 finish for the team, but it's going to be interesting to see how they could finish. The last time the Phoenix Mercury won a playoff game was in 2021, in which they advanced to the WNBA Finals that time.
That was a good run. But you're pointing out, it's been a few years since we got to see that kind of success again. So exciting day, like we said, here for the Mercury. Can't wait to see kind of how this all plays out. But man, just a lot of things going on over there. So can't wait to see kind of what comes next and see what they do with that point guard. So I appreciate you being there, and obviously you'll keep us updated if anything else changes.
Thank you.